Hi, I'm Mallory from Cashmerette, and in this video, I'll show you how to install the Welt pocket on the Auburn Blazer. Before we get started, make sure you have the following on hand: pins, a marking tool that will show up on your fabric, a scalpel or small scissors, and a straight edge or a sewing gauge. Watch this video all the way through before you make your first Welt pocket. Then feel free to follow along and pause at each step when you sew your Welt pocket on your Auburn Blazer. Let's get sewing!
Here we have pieces 1 and 2 interfaced, sewn together with the bust curve clipped. Piece 3, the pocket welt. Piece 4, pocket facing. And piece 5, pocket bag. Mark the welt pocket placement lines on both the right and wrong side of pattern pieces 1 and 2. Here I align pattern piece 2 with the unsewn side seam and the hem. Then I take pins and put them through the pocket bag placement mark and these 3 points on the welt pocket placement mark. Then peel back the pattern piece and use your marking tool to mark the points where the pins have been inserted. Repeat the process with pattern piece number 1, aligning the center front area and the hemline. Then place the pins through the 3 points on the welt pocket placement mark and the pocket bag placement mark. Peel back the pattern piece and mark the places where the pins have been inserted. If you need to, make your marks bolder with your marking tool. Now connect the points across the 2 pattern pieces to create 3 lines. Then make the short ends of the parallelogram. Now the pattern pieces should look like the diagrams in your instructions. In order to transfer the markings to the wrong side of your pattern pieces, place pins in the spots we placed them before, and then turn your pattern piece over, mark the dots, and connect the lines. You could have done this all at once when you made your markings on the right side of the fabric, but I find it easier to do these separately so I'm not flipping the pattern piece and the fabric over all at the same time. Remove the pins before connecting your lines. The wrong sides of pieces 1 and 2 should look like this. Next, take piece number 4, your pocket facing, and fold the bottom edge up 1/2 inch to the wrong side and press in place. Align and pin the wrong side of the pocket facing to the right side of the pocket bag and pin in place. Sew around the pocket facing at 1/4 inch to secure. Fold the pocket welt in half, right sides together, and pin to secure. In order to be as accurate as possible, I mark my stitching line on the welt by measuring in 1/2 inch on the short ends. On this end, the line is straight, and I've removed my pin to make it easier to mark. Replace your pin and move on to the other short edge. This short edge is angled, so your stitching line will also be angled. When you mark it, you know exactly where to pivot while sewing. After you sew the short ends of the welt, trim the seam allowances to 1/4 inch. Turn the welt right side out. You can use a point turner if you need to, and press. If you like, you can baste the raw edges together at 1/4 inch along this line. Align the raw edge of the assembled welt with the center line of the welt pocket placement mark. Pin to secure. The raw edge of the welt will match the lower end of the center line, but will not reach the upper end of the center line. Baste the welt in place at 1/4 inch. If you previously basted the raw edges together, you'll re-stitch over this line. The welt is now attached to the front of the blazer. Center the unfaced end of the pocket bag over the welt, aligning the upper corners of the pocket bag with the squares marked on the blazer front, right sides together. Pin in place. I like to position my pins like this because we want to ensure that they don't extend into the welt pocket placement mark, which we're going to stitch next. Turn the blazer to the wrong side and make sure your pins don't extend into the welt rectangle area. Using a short 1.5 to 2 millimeter stitch length, stitch around the welt pocket rectangle. Make sure to sew precisely and do not catch the sides of the welt in your stitching when sewing the short sides of the rectangle. The reason we use such a short stitch length is so that we can come up precisely on the corners of the rectangle. When you reach the corner of the rectangle, pivot the blazer and make sure that you'll be stitching right on the lines you've marked. If you pivot and find you won't be sewing on your marked line, simply readjust and take one more stitch and recheck. After you've sewn your rectangle, check on the right side of the blazer underneath the pocket bag to make sure you didn't catch the sides of the welt. From the wrong side of the blazer, mark 2 points 1/2 inch from either end of the center line of the welt pocket placement marks. Using scissors or a scalpel, carefully cut through all layers along the center line of the welt marking. From that point, clip into the corners, right up to, but not through, the stitching line. Your welt is completely open now. Turn the blazer over and push the pocket bag and seam allowance through the hole to the wrong side of the blazer. Press the pocket bag and opening flat, then press the welt up so that it neatly fills the opening. I found my welt sort of flipped up into place as I was pressing everything. Your pocket should look like this now. From the wrong side, fold the pocket bag in half, right sides together, so that the faced end matches up with the unfaced end. Pin through the pocket bag and facing and seam allowance along the top of the pocket. Do not pin through the main body of the blazer. Fold the portion of the blazer above the pocket down and sew along the top of the pocket through the facing, pocket bag, and seam allowances, not catching the main body of the blazer. Sew the top of the pocket bag at a 1/2 inch seam allowance from the raw edges. Be careful not to catch the folded edge of the blazer at the corners of the pocket marking. Turn the blazer right side up and check to make sure there aren't any puckers at the top corners of the opening and press flat. Next, pin both open sides of the pocket bag together. Do not pin through the main front of the blazer. Fold the blazer front out of the way as you sew at a 1/2 inch seam allowance down each side of the pocket bag. Press the pocket assembly from the wrong side and the right side. Secure the welt in place by hand stitching the edge of the welt to the edge of the pocket opening using a ladder stitch, which is invisible. If there is a slight gap, the ladder stitch can close it for you. Alternatively, you can edge stitch through all layers at the finished edges of the welt. Repeat on the other side of the welt. Here's my welt after a final press.
Thanks for watching. I hope this video helps you make the perfect welt pocket on your Auburn blazer. For more information on cashmerette patterns, including sizing guidance and sew-alongs, go to cashmerette.com.